The story opens with a chilling mystery. Jane quietly steps into a house, but the moment she enters, her body freezes. Sitting inside is another Jane, identical in every way. Unable to comprehend what she is seeing, Jane panics and runs away, trembling with fear. The film then pulls us back 3 weeks earlier. We hear Jane's voice in a calm, reflective monologue. She explains that scientists have discovered our universe is far greater and more infinite than we ever imagined. Beyond countless stars and galaxies, it may contain countless parallel universes, each with its own version of Earth. In these worlds, people like us exist, yet every reality is different. Some universes never developed life. Others were destroyed by war and nuclear disaster. Many remain hidden, untouched, and unknown. But the greatest mystery remains unanswered. How can we reach these parallel worlds? How can we even prove their existence? Despite decades of research, science still has no solution. We are then introduced to Jane in her normal life, a brilliant scientist living peacefully with her husband, Matt, and their 2 children, Jake and Samantha. Their home is filled with warmth, laughter, and quiet happiness. One morning, Jane finishes breakfast and heads to her laboratory, where her colleague Reg is already waiting. Together, they are working on an ambitious experiment, a machine designed to connect 2 points in space and instantly transport an object from one location to another. The project is backed by a powerful investor who has poured in a massive amount of money and now demands quick results. Over the phone, Jane assures him they are on the verge of success. The machine is ready. It consists of 2 chambers, one to send the object and one to receive it. For their first test, they choose something simple, an apple. The machine powers up. Energy lines race across the screen. Just as the teleportation process begins, the entire system suddenly overloads. When the chaos settles, the apple is still there. The experiment has failed. The machine simply requires more energy than they can provide. Disappointed and mentally exhausted, Jane meets Matt by the lakeside, hoping to clear her head. She confides in him about the pressure from the investors and her fear of failing. Matt listens patiently, then smiles. He tells her he has complete faith in her abilities and knows she will succeed. His quiet support gives her strength. Over the next several days, Jane and Reg repeat the experiment again and again, but every attempt ends in failure. Through it all, Matt remains Jane's anchor, reminding her that their bond has only grown stronger over the years. One evening, while watching a video, Jane suddenly has a breakthrough. She realizes there may be a way to dramatically increase the machine's energy output. The very next day, she returns to the lab filled with excitement. This time, the energy level is doubled. The machine activates, releasing a powerful surge. When everything finally settles, the apple is gone. Jane and Reg celebrate in disbelief, but their excitement quickly turns to confusion when they realize the apple never reached the receiving chamber. It has vanished completely, sent somewhere unknown. They don't understand where it went, but one thing is clear. The experiment worked. Something disappeared. Unaware of the consequences, Jane is overwhelmed with excitement. She decides to share the good news with Matt first and heads to their usual spot by the lake. But Matt doesn't arrive. Moments later, Jane sees his name on her phone. In a weak, trembling voice, Matt tells her he has been in a terrible accident and may not survive. He asks her to take care of the children. Before Jane can respond, the call cuts off. Jane races toward the highway. When she arrives, she sees Matt's lifeless body being taken away in an ambulance. In that moment, her world collapses. In the days that follow, Jane sinks into grief and alcohol, unable to cope with the loss. Her son Jake tries desperately to comfort her, fully aware of the pain consuming his mother. The children eventually invite their aunt to stay with them, hoping she can help Jane through her sorrow. But while the family mourns, something far greater is quietly unfolding. The experiment Jane created is about to uncover the most devastating and life-altering truth of her existence. Jane still couldn't move on from Matt's death. The shock of losing him was deeply etched into her mind, haunting her every waking moment. But one night, in the middle of her grief, a sudden realization struck her, something connected to the failed experiment. Panicked, she immediately called Reg and told him she had re-examined all the previous data. There was something they had missed. The apple never reached their receiving chamber, but it may have arrived at the receiving chamber of another universe. Jane said she was heading to the lab at once. A short time later, inside the lab, Jane explained her theory to Reg in detail. What if they had accidentally opened a pathway to a parallel universe, one that until now existed only in theory? The apple they sent may have traveled to another world where another Jane and another Reg were conducting the same experiment. In other words, they hadn't just lost the apple, they had made first contact. The challenge now was proving their existence to the scientists on the other side. Jane believed the other universe's machine might not yet be fully powered, so she came up with a bold idea. She wrote the energy-boosting formula on a piece of paper and placed it inside the machine, sending it through. They activated the device. The note vanished. Jane smiled quietly and said, "Now we wait and see if there's a response." A few days later, her theory was confirmed. Reg called her in a panic, urging her to come to the lab immediately. In the receiving chamber, they found a new note. It had only one word written on it: "Greetings." Their faces lit up with shock and joy. Soon after, the apple returned, but this time, it had a bite taken out of it. There was no longer any doubt. The experiment had worked. They had successfully connected with another universe. But with this breakthrough came a terrifying question. How many universes were there? 2, 3, or trillions? No one knew. They needed undeniable proof, so they decided to send something more revealing: an empty camera. When the camera finally returned, the footage left them speechless. On the screen was another Jane, smiling and speaking directly to the camera. She gave a tour of her lab, which looked familiar, yet different. A red glow filled the room. The machines were more advanced, and another version of Reg stood beside her. The same experiment was underway in that world. Jane and Reg were stunned. There was no denying it anymore. They had discovered another universe, one of the greatest scientific achievements in human history. For Jane, this discovery ignited a new hope. She went back to the lake where she used to meet Matt. The air felt the same, the place smelled the same, and suddenly, a thought changed everything. What if Matt were alive in that other universe? The idea reignited a spark in her eyes. Without wasting a moment, she returned to the lab. Reg wasn't there. Without hesitation, Jane stepped into the teleportation chamber herself. The machine powered up. A blinding light filled the room, and in the next instant, Jane vanished from her universe. She arrived in another world, Universe 2. Slowly, she stepped out into the new lab. Everything felt different. The walls glowed red. The machines looked far more advanced. As she moved outside, she saw futuristic drones flying overhead. This world was far ahead of her own. But Jane wasn't there for technology. She was there for Matt. She made her way to the lake, the same place she visited in her universe, and then she stopped. Standing near the water was Matt. Jane's eyes filled with tears. She ran toward him, but Matt froze in shock. His face drained of color as he stared at her. In a trembling voice, he said, "You died this morning. How is this possible?" Jane gently told him the truth. She wasn't from this universe. She had come from a parallel world. Standing before this version of Matt, she slowly explained everything. Her voice shook, but her words were honest and clear. She told him how her Matt had died in an accident, how his loss had shattered her and their children, and how every day she saw the same emptiness in her children's eyes. the emptiness left behind by death. Matt listened in silence. His face grew heavy with thought. After a long pause, he finally spoke. "In this universe," he said, "he and Jane never had children." Hearing this, Jane's heart nearly stops. She finally understands that the events in this universe unfolded in the opposite way. In her world, Matt was dead, but here, Matt is alive, and the Jane of this universe died in the same accident. They never had children. The destinies of the two worlds have been completely reversed. After a long pause, Jane softly says that if this is true, she wants Matt to come with her to her universe. Here, he has no one left. His Jane is gone. In her world, her children are still waiting for their father. At first, Matt hesitates. The idea feels impossible, unnatural, but eventually, he agrees. They rush to the lab, activate the machine, and cross back into Universe 1, Jane's world. The moment the machine powers down, Reg storms in, furious. He shouts that Jane has made a terrible mistake. Bringing a human from another universe is dangerous. They still don't understand how space and time truly behave. Jane tries to calm him. She insists this is the machine she built and that she will slowly learn the rules of these parallel worlds. But fear is written all over Reg's face. Something feels deeply wrong. Just then, Matt B, the Matt from the other universe, looks at Reg in a strange, unsettling way, as if something dark is stirring inside him. Jane takes Matt B home. Her children are overwhelmed with joy. To them, it feels like their father has returned from the dead. They cling to him with hope in their eyes. But for Matt B, the situation is deeply uncomfortable. In his universe, he never had children. Their presence confuses him. Still, he forces a smile and tries to act normal. There is another warning sign. In this world, Matt is officially dead. If anyone sees him, questions will arise. So Jane decides that Matt must stay hidden for a few days. Jane, however, is happy again. After a long time, a smile has returned to her face. She believes she has found her love once more. She and Matt spend their days and nights together, sharing stories of their worlds. Through these conversations, Jane learns how different Matt B's Earth truly is. Technology there has advanced far beyond her world, but humanity has fallen behind. Matt shows her a weapon he carries for self-defense, explaining that violence is a normal part of daily life in his universe. He says this world is far more beautiful, while his own has become cold and ugly because of unchecked technological progress. The next morning, Matt goes out for a walk. When a neighbor sees him, he freezes in shock. The man demands to know how Matt is alive when everyone was told he died. He accuses Matt of faking his death for insurance money. Matt turns away, furious, but the neighbor calls out, threatening to expose him unless he's paid to keep quiet. That threat ignites something inside Matt. Without hesitation, he pulls out his futuristic weapon and kills the man. It happens in seconds. In that moment, the truth becomes undeniable. This Matt is not the same man Jane loved. His nature is violent. In his universe, brutality is normal, and it has followed him here. Matt tells no one what he has done, but over the next few days, things begin to unravel. Jane notices the way he looks at her children, cold, unfamiliar. He loses his temper over the smallest things. One day, Matt screams at Samantha simply because she doesn't like a painting he made, and for the first time, Jane realizes that bringing him into this world may have been the greatest mistake of her life. Jane steps in before things go any further. She tells Matt that perhaps this sudden change of environment is affecting his behavior. To ease the tension, she decides to send the children to her sister's house for a few days. Matt quietly agrees. Jane leaves with the children. On the way, Matt calls her. She tells him she will drop the kids off and then head to the lab where Reg is waiting. But the moment she mentions Reg's name, Matt explodes. He begins shouting, hurling accusations, and screaming into the phone. He claims Jane is having an affair with Reg. In that instant, something inside Jane breaks. She finally understands the truth. This man is not her Matt. He is unstable, possessive, and dangerous. Jane rushes to the lab and confesses everything to Reg. She admits she made a terrible mistake by bringing Matt from another universe. She now believes he is deeply suspicious and potentially violent. Determined to uncover the truth, Jane decides she must return to Matt's universe and see what kind of man he truly is. Without hesitation, she activates the machine and teleports back to the other world. But the moment she reaches Matt's house in that universe, she is confronted with a horrifying sight. Lying on the bed is Jane B's lifeless body. She has been brutally murdered. Jane realizes, with crushing horror, that Matt B killed his own wife. She unknowingly brought a murderer into her world. Back in Universe 1, Matt storms into the lab, demanding to know where Jane is. Reg tells him the truth, that she has gone to his universe to uncover what really happened. Hearing this, Matt completely loses control. Meanwhile, in the other universe, Jane rushes to the lab and climbs into the teleportation chamber, desperate to return home. But before she can escape, Matt sabotages the receiving chamber in Universe 1. Jane's path back is cut off forever. Matt then brutally murders Reg in Jane's universe. Trapped in the parallel world, Jane desperately tries to activate the machine again and again, but every attempt fails. She is now stranded in a universe that is not her own. Just then, Reg from this universe, Reg B, arrives at the lab, confused and concerned. He asks Jane where she has been, saying he has tried calling her many times. Before Jane can even respond, the truth begins to unravel. Jane discovers a devastating secret. In this universe, Jane B was having an affair with Reg B. When Matt of this world found out, he flew into a jealous rage and murdered his own wife. Everything suddenly makes sense. Jane now understands why Matt B looked at Reg with such hatred when she first brought him over. Why he became uncontrollably furious when he heard Reg's name on the phone, and why he was capable of killing without remorse. His actions were driven by suspicion, jealousy, and fear. In Jane's universe, none of this was true. She loved Matt deeply. She never betrayed him. But in this universe, a single difference changed everything. Realizing she must return home at all costs, Jane teams up with Reg B. Together, they begin restarting the machine, hoping against all odds to reopen the path back to her universe. This time, Reg B steps into the chamber with Jane. Together, they teleport once more, arriving in yet another universe. Without wasting a second, they jump into a car and race toward Jane's house, desperate to save her children from Matt B. But when they arrive, Jane is struck with terror. Inside the house, she sees another version of herself already there, recreating the very same moment shown at the beginning of the story. Overwhelmed with fear, Jane runs back to Reg B and realizes the horrifying truth. They haven't returned to her world at all. They have landed in a third universe, one that only looks familiar. They rush back to the lab. There, Jane explains everything to Reg B. In his universe, Jane was murdered by Matt after he suspected her of having an affair. Now that same man is hunting her children. Jane knows there is only one option left. She must return to her original universe, no matter the cost. Reg B makes a painful decision. He chooses to stay behind because in this third universe, his Jane is still alive. Jane enters the new code into the machine and teleports alone. Back in the original universe, Matt B has completely lost control. He is determined to kill Jane's children. But Jane arrives just in time. She warns her sister and tells the children the truth, that Matt B is a murderer and could show up at any moment. Suddenly, there is a knock at the door. Matt forces his way inside, Jane narrowly escapes and reaches her sister's house, where her children are hiding. Matt follows her there as well. Jane confronts him and tells him she knows everything, that he murdered Jane in his own universe. Enraged, Matt lunges at her, but at that moment, Jake attacks him from behind. Matt collapses unconscious. Together, they tie him up. There is only one problem. They cannot call the police. In this universe, Matt is officially dead. No one would believe them. So Jane makes one final, terrifying decision. They take Matt B to the lab and send him to a destroyed universe, one from which he can never return. The plan works. Matt B is transported to a fourth universe. When he awakens, he finds himself surrounded by darkness, dust, and endless ruins. He is locked inside a structure, and when he steps outside, he realizes the entire world is a maze. There is no sign of life anywhere. Lightning tears through the sky, and the atmosphere is cold, silent, and terrifying. This is his punishment, a universe of eternal isolation, a hell with no escape. Back in her world, Jane finally accepts the truth. Her real Matt will never return. She vows never to interfere with other universes again. 2 months pass. Jane begins to heal. She finds happiness with her children, and life slowly feels normal again. Then one day, there is a knock at the door. Jane opens it and freezes. Standing before her is Reg B. His face is filled with fear and regret. He tells her they made a terrible mistake. Terrified, Jane asks what he means. Reg B reveals the final, devastating truth. Jane is still not in her original universe. This world is only a near-perfect copy. In her real universe, Matt B destroyed the receiving chamber, making it impossible for anyone to return. The children she has been living with for the past 2 months are not truly hers. The realization crushes her. If this is true, then in her real universe, Matt B may have already killed her children. And with that haunting revelation, the story comes to an end. Friends, if you liked this video and got lost in the story while watching, please subscribe to support us so we can keep bringing you more videos like this. Thanks for watching.